And welcome to the GAP, the Get Attitude Podcast, The Gap, bridging you from who you are to who you want to become and helping you get from where you are to where you want to go. Hi, I am Glenn Bill, founder of the University of Attitude, keynote speaker, and author of the international best-selling book, The ABCs of Attitude. You know, I've helped tens of thousands of people get attitude, and this podcast is going to help you get yours. You know, attitude is the secret formula to success in business and in your life. And I just want to welcome everyone to the beginning of what we hope is an adventure and a journey and helping you get from where you are to where you want to be. Boy, we are very fortunate. You know, the gap, the GAP, it makes sense. We're bridging the gap. We are a personal development podcast, but hopefully we are a motivational podcast for you. Our goal is simply this. When you're feeling down, when you're feeling a little lost, when you're feeling like you don't have the drive, when you're feeling like I need some information that can kick me in my ass and make things happen for me, you go to the Gap, right? You go to the Get Attitude podcast. We are about helping you move forward and bridging the gap from who you are to who you want to become, from where you are to where you want to be. That's what this is about. We hope that you show up to this podcast and think to yourself, I have a problem that needs to be answered. And so that's what we're here to do today with you. So please make sure that you subscribe to this podcast, that you rate our podcast, that you review our podcast, that you share our podcast. We also want you to know that a great place and another source for you is going to be our Facebook page at the Attitude Movement, as well as our Comprehensive Attitude University, the University of Attitude. You can hit us at universityofattitude.com, and you can also visit our website to look at our Bureau of Speakers and the different content that we provide at the University of Attitude. This is my dear friend, my compatriot, the guy that makes me look good. His name is Jason Jolliffe. And Jason, we want to welcome you to the Get Attitude podcast. You will hear Jason chime in, and he is my number one producer, editor, and all-around good buddy. So, Jason, welcome to the Gap, my friend.
Feels good to be here. Real good.
Yes, I like it. So we're all about making you feel good. And let me tell you the format of season number 1. In my book, The ABCs of Attitude, and on the back of my cards, for those of you who have seen me speak professionally and who have met me and who have purchased my book, we have this cool little business card at the University of Attitude that focuses on these things called the 10 Attitude Boosters. And what we're going to do is walk you through 40 different podcasts that work with the 10 Attitude Boosters. We have some incredible guests that are going to be talking with us throughout this. We have, of course, the founder of the Sell or Die Podcast Network, Doug Branson, and Jeffrey Gitomer, and the author of the best-selling book, Sales in a New York Minute, Jen Gluckow. Those are 3 people that have really helped me launch this podcast. If you haven't listened to the Sell or Die podcast, we seriously want to recommend that you subscribe, rate, and review on that one. Jeffrey's been a mentor of mine and really got me started and encouraged me to do the Gap, as well as Doug. Doug is our master producer that does our editing. So we are part of the Sell or Die Podcast Network, and Jeffrey and Jen are just crushing it, and they're 2 dear friends of mine, and we want to make sure we recommend them. They will also be guests on the Get Attitude podcast, but we also have global healer, Dr. Chuck Dietzen, who spent 3 weeks with Mother Teresa, serving her and working with her mission. His message is great. The well-known Andy Andrews, who talks about the ripple effect. We have a couple former pro football players, Casey Cunningham, president of Movement Mortgage, as well as Joe Wright, who was a starting left tackle for the Indianapolis Colts, and Peyton Manning. that's just a few of the unbelievable people that we are going to be interviewing that are going to help you bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be. Season 1 is going to be talking about the 10 attitude boosters, and I just want to give you a little bit of a preview so you know what's going on when you tune into our podcast. It's usually about a 30-minute podcast, and again, the idea is it's going to give you the kick in the ass that you need. It's going to help you dedicate yourself to a way of thinking that is going to become more positive, more productive, and move you down the road. When we talk about our attitude boosters, here's what I know. People go, Glenn, how in the world do I maintain a positive attitude? And I say, you know what? You do all of these 10 things, and there is no question if you participate in each of these 10 attitude boosters every day, you are going to maintain and keep a positive attitude. You know, attitude isn't just for you, but it's for the world. It's for all of those who you are around. It's for your family. It's for your friends. It's for your peers. I mean, who wants to be around somebody that's got a shitty attitude when it's all said and done? So we're here to help you grow that. We're helping you here to grow, right? The definition of attitude is very simply this. It's the way you dedicate yourself to the way you think. The great Napoleon Hill said, you become what you think about all day long. The question I'm going to ask you is, what are you thinking about all day long? Well, if you feel like you're negative, that you have no value, that you're lost, that you are not living up to the potential that you want, that you're not satisfied with your life, that you're not squeezing the juice of life out of the piece of fruit that you got right in your hand, I'm telling you that your attitude, the way you dedicate yourself to the way you think, is the answer. And I'm also telling you that the 10 attitude boosters I'm going to introduce you to today, I want you to ask yourself and not say, yes, I know this, but you need to ask yourself, how good am I at it? So, you know, what I'd like to do is let's just jump into it. And I want you to ask yourself on each attitude booster, how good am I at this? And I want you to rate yourself from 1 to 10, how good am I at this? So here we go. Attitude booster number 1 is be nice, right? Be nice. And in the book, we talk about your ability to be nice, and if you had to ask 10 people in your life, how nice are you, would they rate you at a higher rate than you on a scale of 1 to 10? I always like to talk about the measure of being nice as being, you know, how complimentary are you of others? Do you actively go out and compliment others? Not just for the sake of complimenting, but what it really comes down to be is, do you always look for the best in other people? And do you communicate that? And we're going to be talking with 4 fantastic leaders and influencers about what being kind and being nice has done to them, how it bridged the gap from where they started to where they're going. You know, when we talk about, you know, some of the most beloved politicians, I love the quote that Ronald Reagan had that said, we can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. And do you go out into your life saying, who can I help today? Not saying I have to help everyone, but just someone. Franklin Roosevelt said, you know, human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel to be tough. And boy, in today's political and economic times, are you operating out of cruelty? Are you not positive? Are you not nice? Are you nasty? Do you find power through being nasty to others? And let's be honest, how do you feel when somebody's nasty to you? Are you willing to actually do more for somebody if they're shitty with you? I mean, it doesn't work. So that's what we're going to be focusing on in our very first section of the Get Attitude podcast is being nice. We're going to give you tips on how to be nice. Again, we're going to be sharing stories from very influential, successful people on the skill of being nice, the skill of complimenting people, the skill of being a peace giver and a peace mover. If you want to boost your attitude, if you want to become more contagious in life, I'm here to tell you, being nice is going to be one of the best ways to do that. The second attitude booster that we are going to talk about, again with some influential people, is this thing called having a big goal. Everybody talks about having a big goal. People go, oh my God, another goal seminar. It's the last thing I want is another goal seminar. Well, the bottom line is goal-driven people. We know this. There's only 3% of people in America that are really goal-driven, that really have the big goal that pushes them. When you look at success, when you look at happiness, when you look at people who achieve or overachieve, it's not because they just do it, right? Success happens because it's planned, because there's a vision and there's a big goal. Without a big goal, you're aimless, right? It's like you're walking through, reacting to life, and it's not proactive. Some of my, Lou Holtz always talked about it, right? He said, if you're bored with life, you don't get up every morning with a burning desire to do things. That means you don't have goals. When we talk about vitality, when we talk about drive, when we talk about being lethargic, when we talk about waking up and saying, instead of saying, good morning, God, you say, good God, it's morning. These are people that don't have a goal. Some people call it a purpose. I've always said having a big goal has been the key to my success. I've always loved the saying, if you shoot for the moon and fall a little short, then you know what? You're still going to fall amongst the stars. So my question to you today is, what is your big goal, right? Do you have a big goal? Do you have a goal that makes you uncomfortable? If all your goals make you comfortable, then it's not going to drive you. Having a big goal, and we have one of the masters of goal settings that are going to talk to us about this. His name is Matt De La Cruz from the Winning Minds Group. And boy, what he has to say about goal setting and what it's done for his life, I guarantee that is a podcast that you are going to want to listen to. I wish I could interview Zig. Zig Ziglar, one of the founders and great communicators of personal development, said if you aim at nothing, well, you know what? You're going to hit it every time. Here's what the Gap wants to do. Here's what we're passionate about. Is after you're listening to our podcast and our influencers and our unbelievable interviewees, we want you to create a goal for yourself. We want you to get something to aim for. We want to help you create that one thing that will get you out of bed in the morning, that one thing that will keep you up at night because you're so damn excited about attaining your big goal that it's going to happen. I can tell you for sure, after the 4 interviews we do on Have a Big Goal, you will have a newfound sense of energy, a newfound sense of hope, a newfound sense of contribution and growth that is going to launch you to greatness that you've never, ever known before. The bottom line is this. It is never too late to set a new goal, right? Recreation can happen now. Tony Robbins always told me, how fast does it take to change your life? Well, I tell you what, it takes about 1 second to change your life. And that comes down to having a goal. Attitude booster number 3 is something that I love. Attitude booster number 3. People have a lot of trouble with it, but it's called believing in yourself, right? How many people truly believe in themselves? The great Les Brown asked me this, or I heard him, talk about it. And he said, how many times have you had an idea that could have changed the world or changed your life, and you ended up talking yourself out of it simply because of this thing called self-belief? We have some incredible interviews on believing in yourself, techniques to help you believe in yourself, perspectives on believing in yourself. And, the one thing that we know is if you're looking to create leverage in your life for action, if you're looking to create leverage to not only bridge the gap, but to pole vault over the gap, the one thing you have to do is say, if I don't believe in myself, what am I going to lose? right? What is it that's not going to happen to me if I do not believe in myself? Once we believe in ourselves, we can risk curiosity, we can risk wonder, we can certainly have spontaneous delight or any experience that reveals the human spirit. That came from E. Cummings, right? Wonderful philosopher and author. But once you believe in yourself, you know what? There are no risks because you believe in yourself. You can stop wondering and start doing. You can do things spontaneously because you don't necessarily care about the results. I just think that is so important. Here's my question. What has self-doubt created in your life? Are you sitting there going, damn it, I should have done this one thing that I know I should have done? What does not believing in yourself, what is that costing you? Are you living a life based on what everybody else thinks and what everybody else expects of you? Or are you saying, damn it, I believe in myself and I'm going to move forward? I talk to people all over the nation, and there's nothing worse, and there's nothing wrong with somebody being at a business for 30 or 40 or 50 years doing the same thing. But invariably, when I talk to those people that have been a fixture in a company or a corporation for 40 or 50 years, sure, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of family, there's a lot of caring, there's a lot of certainty. But their biggest regret is, I had 3 or 4 opportunities to move, to change careers, to pivot, to change my life, to improve. But you know what? I didn't believe in myself. And so now I'm stuck. And although the love and the camaraderie of all the people that I am with are there, boy, I wonder what my life could have been like if I just believed in myself. So, Oprah Winfrey, I'm going to quote her a few times in this, but it is the confidence in our bodies, minds, and spirits that allows us to keep looking for new adventures. Guys, there's a new adventure for you today. The new adventure is called The Gap. It's called a 30-minute podcast with some of the most influential, famous, and wonderful people sharing their insights on their attitude, their insights on how they filled the gap and got from one place to another place, how they grew from who they are to who they become. And just as Oprah said, do you have the confidence to do that? Are you looking for new adventures? Are you looking for new opportunities? Or are you just simply looking in the mirror and that's it? You need to look through the mirror. Not just look in the mirror, look through the mirror as to what could happen. Attitude booster number 4 is do more than you're paid for. And boy, oh boy, do people have trouble with this one. Everybody wants their world to change. Everyone wants their income to change. Everyone wants their happiness to change. But the only thing they don't want to change is themselves. And when we talk about doing more than you're paid for in our 4 interviews, you are going to hear from people that have created wealth, created influence, created impact by not counting the almighty dollar, right? But by giving more than they get. And hopefully what this will do will awaken you. If you're stuck at a certain income level, if you're stuck at work and you're not increasing and getting promoted, the chances is that you are not doing more than you're paid for. Do more than you're being paid to do, and you'll eventually get paid more for what you do. The great Zig Ziglar. Think about this. Do more than you're being paid to do. Number 1, are you or aren't you? Pretty simple. See, everybody wants to get paid more, but they don't want to do more. And then the second part of that quote, you'll eventually be paid more for what you do. You will never be recognized. You will never stick out. You will never have anybody take a chance on you by underperforming. That's not the way life works. I call it self-equity. The best thing you can do to propel yourself in your career, your life, your personal development is to give more than you get. People will pull you up. And you can't look at it as I'm losing time and I'm losing money. What you're doing is building equity in yourself. You're building what we call life equity and doing more than you're paid for. My goal, no matter who I'm with, is to always give more, always exceed expectations. And boy, has that produced some incredible results for us. I love this quote by Zig too. You don't drown by falling in the water. You only drown if you stay there. And really what doing more than you're paid for, that is the solution for not drowning. Not drowning in your life, not drowning in your relationships. You got to tread water, right? You only drown if you do nothing. So doing more than you're paid for, having action, that's what we're really looking to help you do at the Get Attitude podcast. I hope so far that you are enjoying what we're spitting out there. And we sure hope that you remember to subscribe, rate, and review us. Please join us at the University of Attitude and the Attitude Movement on Facebook. We believe that the attitude of America needs to change. We believe that the attitude of America needs to get a boost, that we need to look at the way we're dedicating ourselves to the way we think. The University of Attitude is the premier place for attitude identification, attitude innovation, and attitude learning. If you want to know, is my attitude good? Is it not good? If you want to know and you want to learn about this thing called attitude, I go around and people, I love it. I talk to CEOs all the time. I said, what's the number one thing you're looking for in a recruit? And they all say attitude. And then I go, great, define it, and they can't. And I say, my God, the number one thing is you're looking for attitude, but you can't even define it. You haven't even studied it, right? There's no attitude courses that I know of in grade school or high school. Chances are there are probably some in college at this point. But I'm telling you this, the number one place to understand, to learn, to participate, to engage with your attitude and the attitudes of others, the attitudes of your community, your region, or America, it's this place called the University of Attitude. And the GAP, the Get Attitude podcast, is just one outlet that we are going to use to help you create a new attitude in your life, possibly in your community and possibly in the nation. What business or organization are you leading? Some of you I know out there are leaders. Some of you I know need to develop this thing called attitude. Some of you I know need to understand, how do I align the attitudes of the people that I lead, right? Or how do I align the attitude of the leaders that I follow? The Get Attitude podcast is going to help you do that. When we talk about followers and leaders, that gets us to attitude booster number 5, which is have a mentor and copy them, right? Or copy him or her was what politically correct on the card. People are crushing it in life. There are people in your life that make more money than you, that have better relationships than you, that have a better marriage than you, that have better physical health than you, that have better faith than you, and they're killing it. And the bottom line is, the secret to life is there is no secrets. And the bottom line is this: there are people in your life who possess the answers that you need. There are people in your life that can mentor you, right? The answers are all in front of you. All you have to do is ask, and you will receive. When we talk about mentorship, I always love to say this: is there one person in your life that if you just ask them to go out to lunch or dinner, and you created 100 questions that could change everything in your life or in your business or in your relationship? There are people that are mastering life that know more than you, but we're afraid to ask them, right? Which gets back to number 2, believe in yourself enough to ask them. Most people who live with wealth, that live with health, that live an abundant life, they're okay sharing their secrets. as long as what? You do more than you're paid for if you ask them to be a mentor, right? I love Oprah Winfrey's quote. A mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside of yourself. I know that our gappers, and yes, that's what we call you, our gappers. If you're listening to this, you are a gapper, and we're going to have all kinds of fun stuff for you. But the bottom line is this. Do you have hope inside yourself? What are you hoping for? What is your dreams that are not being communicated? I think Maya Angelou said there's nothing worse than a dream that never comes out of a person's body, right? So I encourage you to find somebody who allows you to see the hope inside of yourself, and sometimes self-mentorship is the way to do that. You know, Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we get, and we make a life by what we give. Do more than we're paid for, right? What are you giving? Are you a mentor to somebody else? I know I'm telling you to go get a mentor, but Phil Collins, the great musician, said, you know what? In learning or in mentoring, you will teach, and in mentoring, you will learn. Actually, I think his quote was actually, in learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn. So what are you giving when it comes to being a mentor? Are you an actual mentor for anybody? Here's what I'm telling you. If you want to improve your attitude, okay, if you want to learn by teaching or teach by learning, put yourself as a mentor and a mentoree, and I promise you, you'll be doing more than you're paid for. You'll be being a part of something bigger than yourself, and your attitude, because you're engaged with other people, will increase. Hopefully, you know, we've been through half of these boosters. We've asked a lot of questions. If you haven't taken out a pen and paper and started a journal, I would suggest that you start. Because I am sure of this. I know how to change people's attitude. Not change them. I know how to improve them. I know the steps that it takes. My book did not become an international bestseller because it's no good. The book also has the accompanying ABCs of Attitude workbook and playbook. There's a playbook that you can get. If you go to abcsofattitude.com, you can download my playbook. It's an actual journal and a playbook that if you work through it, I promise you your attitude awareness will increase. You'll say, oh my God, why do I think the way I think? Why do I do what I do? Well, it's all based on what your attitude is. And I love this saying, right? The quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions you ask yourself about your life. The problem is most people I talk with in counsel and consult with, or when I'm doing a keynote speech, they don't know the questions to ask. Well, I tell you, the questions that you need to be asking about your attitude in your life, they're all in the Get Attitude playbook. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you jump on our website, abcsofattitude.com, and uploading that for free just for listening to the podcast. Let's go to number 6. Number 6 is a attitude booster that, boy, I tell you what, might be the most important lesson I've ever learned in my life. I want you right now to do this with me. First of all, number 6 attitude booster is control your emotions, right? Control your emotions. And I want you to close your eyes for a second, and I want you to think about the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. Go ahead, close your eyes, and think about the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. Question: were you in control of your emotions? Right? Were you in control of your emotions? Chances are when I ask this, people go, yeah, no. Biggest mistake I ever made in my life, pretty big mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes. Most mistakes we make, well, they happen because we're not in control. The 4 influencers, the 4 people that we are going to be talking to about controlling your emotions are going to help you understand why you do what you do, why you fly off the handle, tricks to controlling your emotions, antidotes to controlling your emotions. You know, Karen Waddell, really, really great author, someone I look up to, I read. I love what she said. She said, don't let people who don't care about you manipulate your mind. And when we talk about all the news stations, right? Fox, CNN, MSNBC, they're manipulating your mind. And when your mind's manipulated, the definition of attitude is dedicating yourself to a way of thinking. It's the way you dedicate yourself to the way you think. Well, mind manipulation happens in the media all the time. Watching media will not improve your attitude, right? So don't let people who don't care about you manipulate your mind. And trust me, there's a lot of people that don't care about you who want your mind, who want your attention. But you should not also let them manipulate your feelings and your emotions or control how you think about yourself. You know, somebody's definition of you does not have to become your reality, right? So many people are defined by others, and then they all of a sudden label themselves with somebody else's definition. Karen says this: never give that much power to someone else. The Get Attitude podcast, The Gap, is about honing your own power, owning your own attitude. That's what this is about. Remember that no one has the right to control your emotions, thoughts, and actions unless you let them when it's all said and done. Our Control Your Emotion 4 podcast, absolutely out of the water good. I mean, it'll just blow you out of the water. And you will have a new sense of ownership of your attitude when it's all said and done. I mean, if you are not the one that's controlling your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, then you are the one who is being controlled. And what I ask you today is, are you being controlled? Are you being controlled by the media? Are you being controlled by your kids? Are you being controlled by your ex-spouse? Are you being controlled by your boss? Are you being controlled by your manager? Or are you controlling yourself? See, controlling your emotions is a self-decision, but it's not easy. Nobody talks to you about how to control your emotions, but you know what? At the Get Attitude podcast, we're going to attempt that. And if you are in this to win this life that you live, if you were saying, yeah, there's more for me. There's more for me on the other side of the river, and I need that bridge. I need to fill that gap. I need to bridge the gap. I sure hope you join us. I sure hope you like us at the University of Attitude. I sure hope you go to the Attitude Movement and follow what we're doing. I sure hope you come and have me speak to your company, your peers, your community. We do keynote speeches all over America, and boy, I would love to help you with all these attitude boosters. So let's go to number 7, grow or die, right? I mean, we always hear it, and one of the funniest things is they go, Glenn, I mean, really, I either grow or I gotta die? I mean, that's what's really happening. And the bottom line is, yeah, I mean, if you're not growing, you are dying. And the guy that really said that most was the great football coach, Lou Holtz. The thing I can tell you about growing or dying is that I know this. People have problems in their life, right? People have financial problems. People have physical health problems. People have relationship problems. And I know that the answers are there, just like we talked about. There is no secret to success. The secret is there is no secret. And the bottom line is whatever you are suffering from, whatever you're down about, whatever you need to get through, whatever personal challenge, business challenge, relationship challenge you're having, the answer is you got to grow through it. You cannot correct your life, your problems, your relationships if you're not willing to grow, right? We talked about drowning earlier, right? You got to swim. You got to take action. We have 4 incredible guests on our Grow or Die podcast that are going to give you fantastic stories about how they made the decision to grow through their problems. That's what we are focusing on. I believe the great Jeffrey Gitomer is the one that started that, and I think I'm pretty sure, Jen Gluckow, author of Sales in a New York Minute, is also going to talk to us about their growth pattern and how personal growth changed their life. We would like to think that The Gap, the Get Attitude podcast, is one of the best personal growth podcasts in the nation. And I promise to bring you the best thought leaders on personal growth to come into this podcast to help give you the kick in your pants that you need to bridge the gap. Attitude booster number 8, love adversity. You know what? My guess is you all have a little adversity in your life. And the question is, are you letting the adversity control you? Are you letting it beat you down? Or do you embrace it? When bad shit happens to you, are you like, man, this is great. This is an opportunity for me to test my humor, right? I never see failure as failure, but only as an opportunity to improve my sense of humor. I love adversity. That came from the great Tom Hopkins, by the way. But you know what? If you have no adversity in your life, you are not living. And I love what the great Robert Kennedy said. He said, only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. When you talk about adversity, a lot of it has to do with failure. God, I failed. I failed as a parent. I failed as a husband. I failed as a business owner. I failed as a student. I failed as a employee. I failed as a leader. You know what? If you're not failing, you ain't living. So embrace your failures and learn from your failures. Your failures are your greatest teacher. Adversity is the mother of perseverance. If you want to consider yourself a person of perseverance, you have to have failed. Anna Antunes, another great author and poet, she said, life keeps throwing me stones and I keep finding the diamonds inside. Right? I mean, think about that. I want you to think about the biggest adversity in your life that you grew through, booster number 7. And I want you to think about the greatest thing that came out of the biggest adversity you've ever had in your life. So many people define their lives and replay the adversity that occurs, but they never do this thing called effective blaming. Are you effectively blaming the adversity that happened in your life? You may be a child that suffered child abuse, right, from their parents, and this has happened, right? I know people like this, and they were abused as kids, and all they focused on were the ones that were abused, right, and the abuse that happened. But I ask them, I say, what did all that abuse turn you into, the successful ones, right? And they go, well, without all that abuse, I would have never been tough. I would have never been independent. I would have never been able to shield myself from the pain. I would have never believed in myself enough to do what I've done, because you know what? Nothing could be worse than what I grew up with. It reminds me of the story of the great newspaper columnist who interviewed this bozo bum sitting on the bench, and he's giving this interview, and it turned out that the guy was a fairly successful guy, but he had a drinking problem. And he said, my God, he said, how in the world did you go from a success to becoming a homeless drunk? He said, I had no choice. My father was an alcoholic. And within 2 months, he interviews one of the most successful guys on Wall Street. And he said, boy, you look just like this bum. And it turns out it was the bum's brother. And this guy was one of the most successful Wall Street brokers there was. And he said, how in the world could somebody, twins, they were twins, how could one of you end up as a drunk on a bench and the other one end up a successful Wall Street broker? And he looked at him and he said, I tell you why. Because my father, he was an alcoholic. See, it's all about your mindset. 2 guys, same family, 2 different results, 2 different thoughts. What are you doing with the adversity in your life? Is the adversity going to define you, or will the adversity propel you into what you're doing? You know, there's nothing that cleanses your soul like getting the hell kicked out of you, okay? That's the point. Getting the hell kicked out of you, that's actually a good thing. The old ancient proverb, every flower must grow through dirt. When it's all said and done, you know what? You got to be in the dirt to spring the flower. We also talked about, I was listening to a Brian Buffini podcast the other day. He talked about pipe dreams, right? And the things that run through pipes are mostly crap. It's mostly shit. So pipe dreams are when you don't have to go through any shit to get through the pipe. But the reality in life is that you got to go through some shit. You got to go through some adversity to get the greatest results and to persevere and to become the person you want to become. Number 9 attitude booster is very simple. Billions of dollars spent on number 9. Eat right and exercise. I find it absolutely incredible. Diet pills, diet programs, testosterone pills, all this. How do I feel better physically? Eat right and exercise, right? By choosing healthy over skinny, you are choosing self-love over self-judgment. Obesity is a problem in our society. Diabetes at an alarming rate. It's epidemic in America. And it's all because of this self-judgment. It's all because of this, I need to be skinny. It's all because of I need to buy my way into health. When all you really have, remember I said, it's not the quality, it's not the questions in life, it's the quality of questions in life you're asking yourself. And what I'm saying here is choose healthy over choosing being skinny. If you are somebody that's overweight, if you're somebody that has no energy, if you're somebody that's suffering from pre-diabetes, which there's a hell of a lot of people that are, all you got to do is eat right and exercise. Choose a healthy lifestyle. There's an old quote, simple is sustainable. I don't know a much simpler diet than eat right and exercise. Eat less from a box and more from the earth, right? What you eat in private, you will wear in public is another really good one. Eating right and exercising, you want to improve your attitude. You want to improve your vitality. You want to improve the blood flow that goes in you. You want to improve your energy. You want to sleep better. You want to poop better. You know what? Move and exercise. And it all starts with just maybe walking down the block, and then maybe walking around the block, and then maybe walking a mile, 2 miles, 5 miles. Do something. Get moving. If you want your attitude to explode, I promise you, get in a very easy, simple, sustainable exercise rhythm. And that may just simply be for some of you walking 1 to 2 blocks. It's that easy. The last attitude booster, which we feel is probably one of the most important, which is what this podcast is, which is what the University of Attitude is all about, right? The University of Attitude is about being a part of something bigger than you. I can tell you, this isn't about me, right? This is about how can I influence more people to think differently about themselves and their communities than they do right now. How can I get people? How can I help people? Not get them to. How can I help people change the world one attitude at a time? How can we help people be a part of something bigger than themselves? I just mentioned Brian Buffini. Boy, he gave a quote the other day that just killed me. And he said, if you are not serving, you are self-serving. And boy, that hit me between the eyes. I said, I better get going on this podcast thing. If you're not serving someone, you're self-serving when it's all said and done. And I'm just telling you right now, when you only serve yourself, that is a key for disaster. It's a key for a attitude deflator when you are not making an impact on other people's lives. You know, he who has the strong enough why can bear almost any how. We all know it. We've heard it before. When the why becomes strong enough, the how becomes easy. Stop asking yourself, how am I going to do it? Start asking yourself, why am I doing this? So why am I doing this? Why am I doing the Gap podcast? Why am I doing the Get Attitude podcast? Why have I dedicated my life to changing the world one attitude at a time? Because I'm tired of seeing people miserable, unmotivated, sour, blaming. They're not fun to hang around. And there's a lot more of them than there are of us. But I know that because you made the commitment to be here for this Get Attitude podcast, you're looking for something. You're looking for more in your life. You're looking to be a part of something bigger than you. And I want to welcome you. And I want to welcome all the Gappers who are listening to this today to continue to tune into me, to please subscribe, rate, and review, to please share this with your friends, to please find people in your life who are down, who have no vitality, who could use a kick in the butt, who could use somebody or some vehicle that will help them think about how to live a better life. Nick Vujicic, I think is his name, the guy with no arms and no legs, wonderful keynote speaker. He said the greatest rewards come when you give of yourself. See, one way to give of yourself is to refer people to this program. It's about bettering the lives of others, being a part of something bigger than yourself, and making a positive difference. I can assure you that there is somebody in your life, a friend, a relative, a business associate, that needs to hear this content. And maybe they don't need all 10 attitude boosters, but maybe you know, and we'll have this on our website and we'll have this on our Facebook page, what episodes will air. We're also going to be on YouTube, so you can just pull us up on YouTube as well. Stitchers, iTunes, every place that you can get a podcast, we will be. And maybe when we do one of the 10, there's somebody you know that you should just say, hey, you should listen to this guy. You should listen to this interview. I'd like to think I'm great, but you know what? My guests are way better than me. And it's an honor to be able to interview the likes of a Jeffrey Gitomer or an Andy Andrews or a Joe Wrights, a Dr. Chuck Dietzen. These are people that have studied self-improvement, that have studied about being something bigger than you. These are all people with enormous followings, and they're enormous influencers. You know, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond our measure. And I know that when we talk about being a part of something bigger than you, everybody has that capability in their life. But we're not doing it. Why? Because we're afraid. Why? Because number 2, we don't believe in us. And so what I'm hoping to do is help you believe in yourself more, to overcome the deepest fear. The fear that there is so much power in you that you have no idea what it is, nor do you want to confront it. You know, the more you lose yourself in something bigger than yourself, the more energy you will have. The biggest problem I see with most people is they're not happy, they're not energetic, and they don't exude. They're not contagious. People with great attitudes, people that get attitude, that got attitude, they're contagious. People want to be around them. I'll end this session with a Oprah Winfrey quote that I really love, that there's no greater gift you can give or receive than to honor your calling. It is why you were born and how you become truly alive. I'm not sure what your calling is. My calling is to be talking to you today. My calling is to help you bridge the gap from who you are to who you want to become. My calling is to help you get from where you are to where you want to go. I provide a bridge called The Gap. It's called the Get Attitude Podcast. I hope that you tune in to us every single episode. I hope you live our journey. I hope you spread our mission. I hope you become a part of something bigger than you, and that's called the Attitude Movement. And I want you to join us on Facebook so you see what's going on. I want you to post. I want you to engage with me. And I want you to have the best life that you possibly can have. I want you to control the way you think. I don't want you to give your power away to anybody. And I promise you, we will help you get attitude. Thanks for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you for our next Get Attitude podcast when we focus on Be Nice.